All right, we're on, guys.
Welcome to the Horse Racing Show, a special edition. We're live at Belmont Park, getting ready for the Test of a Champion, the 151st Belmont Stakes coming up on Saturday. I'm Kenny Rice. Glad that you're tuning in for this edition. And with us, as always, we have Scott Hall, Ben Chaffins, and Mr. Thomas Kenny. So, guys, looking forward to a race to cap off what has really been one of the more intriguing, interesting, puzzling, and fascinating Triple Crowns that I can ever remember. And I don't think that people are ever going to forget this Triple Crown. They forget certain things, but they're going to remember many things that have happened, above all, the disqualification and leading to the victory of Country House, which leads to Bill Mott, the Hall of Fame trainer, who said it was a bittersweet victory to win the Derby the way he did, but he thinks that the stewards made the right decision, and we've touched all that ground. They did make the right decision. But he goes on to say, Country House will be coming back down the road, so they have some things there that they can show. But in the meantime, he comes in here with the favorite for this race in Tacitus. And if you go back before the Derby even, Tacitus finishing third, by the way, in the race at Churchill Downs, Tacitus was considered by many to be the Belmont horse anyway, based on his breeding. And Bill Mott even thought he'd like 1.5 miles distance better. So Tacitus, not War of Will, the Preakness champ, is the favorite, at least right now going into the race. Of course, obviously, that can change with pari-mutuels. Guys, any stories out there that you're hearing about that's interesting you?
I think that's what we were going to ask you, Kenny. I haven't heard a whole lot. I think I've heard the same tone, though. What is going to be the next thing that happens this year?
Well, Scott, that's the question. And honestly, this has been as laid back of a week leading up to the Belmont that I can remember. Of course, it's hard to compare it at all to last year when Justify was undefeated and going for the Triple Crown, and 90,000 people were going to be at Belmont. That crowd will probably be about half that tomorrow. And one of the reasons is quite simple. There's no Triple Crown on the line. It's a big day. It's a day of it's New York's day of racing, but it just has a different feel when the Triple Crown's not on the line, or you don't have, say, a Derby winner who lost the Preakness is coming back in the Belmont like we've seen in the past. But we've got some great storylines. We touched on them a little bit earlier in the show that dropped on Wednesday, in that War of Will. It's very impressive here. He's the only horse to run in all three legs of this Triple Crown. And that's a credit to trainer Mark Casse, who started pointing him to the Triple Crown all the way back in March. He was laying out a pattern that if this horse was good enough to win or good enough to compete, that he'd be able to go all the way through. So I think that's interesting. If he does this, he'll become only the third horse since 2001 to lose the Derby and win the Preakness and the Belmont. That's a great storyline. You would think that more people would be kind of following that. And in the business, they are. But the outside world, it's this. What happened to the Derby winner, and where's Maximum Security? Maximum Security still in at Monmouth Park. Probably won't run again until the Haskell coming up this summer. Probably. But Luis Saez is back riding. That was the jockey at Maximum Security. He's going to ride Everfast, who finished second in the Preakness. So he's going to be here in the Belmont. He's appealing a 15-day suspension that was handed down, you might remember, by the Kentucky stewards because of the race, because of the Kentucky Derby. But he's appealing that, and he's going to be riding in the Belmont. So, that's going to be a story.
Right.
And then Todd Pletcher, Pletcher's won this 3 times. So, he's always a story, and he has a horse Spinoff. Remember we talked about Spinoff? We had a listener write in about Spinoff way back, just like around Tampa Derby time.
That's right.
Yeah, so he's a good horse. Had a terrible Derby, but he didn't like the track. And Pletcher's won this 3 times. And listen to this. All 3 times that he's won it, he's done it with a horse that ran Kentucky Derby weekend and then took a month off just to rest and to train specifically for this race. And that's the way he's won all 3 of the races.
Oh, wow.
Qualify and say Kentucky Derby weekend, right, because one time he won it with the filly Rags to Riches, who raced in the Kentucky Oaks. So, Pletcher, he's got Intrepid Heart. We talked to John Velasquez, who's a guest on the show this week. He's riding Intrepid Heart. So, he's a young horse. I think he's a storyline. And then the real question mark is this Master Fencer, the Japanese horse who has stayed around and trained in the U.S. It's running in the Derby and had a better than most expected Derby. So, I think that's a good storyline. Bourbon War had a bad race in the Preakness. Can he come back?
Yeah.
Did I excite any of you guys? You're going to watch it now?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Kenny, let me just ask you this. Is the feeling different up there with this unprecedented Triple Crown so far as compared to like previous years?
Yeah, everybody, Ben, is asking, what's going to happen next. I mean, it really is. We were at a banquet, a fundraiser the other night for the Permanently Disabled Jockeys Fund. And Donna Brothers, Randy Moss, Mike Watchmaker, and I are all there. And that's kind of the people just in general talking like, there's been so many question marks to this Triple Crown. You wonder if there'll be an exclamation mark, if there'll be like a definitive moment where it's just a great, clean run race, no controversy. Everybody stays on their horse. And maybe somebody turns in an exceptional performance where you say, this could be the best 3-year-old. We got to keep an eye on him. And maybe if Tacitus wins this big, they'll say that. Or certainly if War of Will wins this, it takes 2 legs of the Triple Crown. He moves to the front of the line if he's not there already. And I think that's probably what people are hoping for, wanting for most. And, Thomas and I, we kind of talked about that about a week ago, didn't we, Thomas, about just the unpredictability of it all this year.
Yeah, it's certainly been a year to remember, that's for sure, for better or for worse, depending on who you ask. I mean,
yeah,
it's definitely an unprecedented Derby in more ways than one, with the stewards handing down the decision to change the winner from Maximum Security to Country House. And then we've had only one horse, like you said, racing in all 3 legs. It's just rather bizarre this year compared to, what we'd normally expect from a Triple Crown season.
Yeah. And I think, and one thing that racing, what they talk about every year, all these executives in racing, we need a star. We need a star. We need a star. And so far, you've got some co-stars out there. War of Will would certainly be that. I think Maximum Security showed how great he really can be, even with the disqualification. And outside of that, at this moment, there's nobody else that people I don't think, are clamoring to see or wanting to see or hoping to see. What they're really hoping for is see if they can ever get Country House together with Maximum Security and War of Will and whoever comes out of this Belmont down the summer at either the Haskell or the Travers. That's what would really be exciting for the racing community, and maybe crossover enough that some of the people that listen to us casually that, are interested in horse racing would kind of get them fired up. But, this is, by the way, this is the oldest of the Triple Crown events. That's the history lesson for the day.
Man, that's a good one. How's the weather going to be tomorrow, did they say, Kenny? I mean,
it's going to be 80, Scott, 80 sunny, and the track should be fast. It's been a nice week here. It's been, around 80 degrees all week. Actually a little bit of rain a couple of days ago, but it's been 80 degrees, and it's going to be about that today and be sunny, and track's fast. And it looks like, we won't have to pull out the rain jackets walking around the track this time. So
that's nice.
That's all we can hope for, right?
When are we going to get the official racing show rain jackets? I thought Thomas and Ben were in charge of that. When do we get those?
Yeah, we need to check that, guys.
We'll have to check and see where they're held up right now.
Yeah.
It's in the pipeline.
How about a cap?
Yeah, at least a cap.
just a cap.
That's right.
Just a cap.
Do visors work?
Well, for the sun, it'd be great.
That's right. So, Kenny, today, tell us a little bit about like what your day is going to be the day before. I know we've talked a lot, about what you do at the Derby and Preakness and stuff, but anything different up here in the Belmont as far as what you got to do for your prep today?
Well, a lot of it's going to focus. I'm going to talk about Mark Cassidy today and about War of Will. We're on NBC Sports Network at 5 to 6 today. Have a couple of interesting races, including a 2-mile race. You don't see a lot of 2-mile races, guys.
No.
So you might want to tune in for that. And that'll be 5 to 6 today. And then tomorrow we start on NBCSN at 2:00, and then let's say at 2:30, and then we go till 4:00, and then switch over to NBC from 4 to 7. And some of the stories I'm working on, well, obviously Mark Cassie, I'll be doing an interview with him. How War of Will's doing. I'll be talking with Todd Pletcher with his 2 entries coming into this. The rest of our reporters, I think every one of them's been on the show. They have Lafitte Pinkai, Donna Brothers, Brittany Urton, Eddie Olchek. They'll all be talking about the other horses in the field. And of course, Randy Moss, Jerry Bailey, and Mike Tirico will be on the desk. So I think we've got it all covered. Again, it's there's probably a lot more questions than answers. You can almost say that every year coming in, but usually there's always that matchup that people want to see. I don't know. I think the task of this matchup is with War of Will. Most people think it's going to be one or it's going to be one of those 2 that wins. Yeah. But I'll say this: the Belmont winner has paid at least $20 to win 6 of the last 10 years. So 60% of the time, if you took a shot, it's not like giant money, but if you took a long shot, a shot that's not the favorite, let's say 7, 8 to 1, you got a pretty good chance. So, there might be something like this because the favorite since 2007 has finished in the top. It's finished in the top 2. Let's see. Let me get this right. I want to make sure. The favorite has finished in the top 2 in 3 of the last 4 years. But since 2007, that's only happened one other time. So, it's not been a race like the Preakness has been closer to a race where the favorite, usually steps up. So I don't know. I think it'll be fun. The preparation, I think in some ways is more challenging, Scott, because you don't want to embellish anything, obviously, but you want to try to tell an intriguing story out there for the person that's tuning in. And even though there's no Triple Crown on the line, they're estimating there'll probably be about 6 million people that will tune in to watch the Belmont. That's going to be more than than the NBA finals and some other things that are going on right now. So that's, there's still interest because it is a Triple Crown race. As Mark Cassie told us a couple of weeks ago when asked, any hesitation about running in the Belmont after the other 2. And he said, no, why? Because it's a Triple Crown race. This is racing history that you want to be a part of.
Period. Yeah.
They call them jewels for a reason.
That's right. That's true.
Exactly. Yeah. Thomas, exactly. And, it's like everything else. I mean, to the casual fan out there, and look, I'm happy that we have so many people that are listening, not just in the U.S., but, around the world that are tuning into this and downloading our show. We really appreciate that. And subscribing and liking us, that's growing on YouTube. And I think, the majority of horse racing people, I know that, but we've got a lot of people that are sports fans. And I'm really happy about that because to me, that's what racing needs is just like you said, Thomas, it's one of the jewels of the Triple Crown. And people know these races. You say the Kentucky Derby, the Preakness, the Belmont, they know these races. They may not know the Jim Dandy or the Haskell or the Travers. But they may not know the handicap race, big race in Churchill Downs next weekend, the Stephen Foster, but they know this race. Yeah. They know the other 2 races, and they got to build on that. And so that's, it's always fun to take a guess and see. I really don't know if, I don't know if one of the favorites, I just have this feeling. I don't know. It's just a feeling as wacky as it's been. Mm-hmm. But I kind of think Spinoff might be the long shot horse in here at 15 to 1.
I agree with you 100%. I don't even have to reveal mine. That he's my pick.
Already, see?
Already, yeah.
And as most people listening can tell, this is unrehearsed. It's not like we went to but yeah, it's I think that I kind of like that. I like Todd Pletcher having this much time to get a horse ready for this particular race.
I do too.
He's won it 3 times, and I think let's see, I want to get the facts. I don't like to just spew it out. I'm trying to get the facts. Now I will have to go to my notes. I'm pulling out notes, guys. Bear with me. Talk among yourselves.
That's totally understandable. We miss you in the studio today, Kenny. It is not the same. Chair looks awful lonely there.
It does.
Well, why'd you put like a black ribbon around it? I'm not there. You got a black ribbon around it. Yeah. Yes, this is where he used to sit. We remember him. We remember what's his name.
That's right.
No, Pletcher's won it 3 times. He's been runner-up 5 times. He's been 3rd 3 times. So he's batting a pretty good percentage in the 26 horses he sent out previously to the Belmont. 11 times he's at least, he's been the top three. So that's, and, in horse racing, so it's like baseball. I know Ben and Thomas are baseball fans. You're batting around 300 or more. You're doing really well, and that's I think a good analogy for how successful a trainer is. Just kind of like a batter. If you're hitting around 300, you're doing exceptionally well.
That's right.
Yeah. I'd say it almost seems more important with a horse race, just because you got a different bat every year, so to speak.
Yeah, exactly. And on average, about 20% is a good, 1 out of 5 times. That's a pretty good run for a trainer. Most of them would be happy if they're hitting around that. If they can hit like 1 out of 4, they're having a really good season. And so that, because they have so many, and people will see obviously just the Triple Crown races, they'll see just these horses on the trail. But of course, there's a lot more than that out there that they're going to, I don't know how many horses Fletcher even has up here. Mark Casse has horses all over the place, as most of these trainers do. But it's going to be exciting. I think it's going to be fun. I just think again, I hope there's an exclamation point to the season that's been full of question marks, because racing could use that. They could use a great stretch drive, maybe 2 or 3 horses that capture the imagination to go forward, leading to the Breeders' Cup. And that would be, with all the other things that have happened this year, that would really be good for the sport. So and it'd be good for us too. So I'm hoping that I can actually just talk to a winner afterwards and not have to ask why they fell off the horse, or do you think you're going to win the race? And
I agree with you there, man. Yeah.
Yeah, I haven't done interviews like that back to back in a long time. Well, never actually. I've got to be never have I asked a trainer, do you think you won the Kentucky Derby? until this year with Belmont.
Yeah, well, it's going to be exciting. We're definitely going to tune in, and I hope everyone's safe this year. And I'm pulling for Pletcher.
Well, I think he's got a good shot. I think if Todd wins it, if Casse wins with War of Will, if Mott wins, there'd be some kind of, maybe, I won't say redemption. He's not that kind of guy. It's not revenge or anything else, but I think it'd be a little sweeter for him if he won it. I think for Mark Casse, a great horseman who should be in the Hall of Fame. I'm surprised he's not in the U.S. Hall of Fame already. He's in the Canadian one. War of Will winning 2 legs, that'd be huge for the sport. And, if you got another Pletcher story, he's well known because you got a lot of guys, what if Dale Romans wins it with Dale was funny the other night, by the way, at this deal to raise money for the jockeys. He was just funny. He talked about Babe Ruth, that everybody remembers Babe Ruth, pointing for his home run. I believe it was in Chicago, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Yeah. He's pointing, home run, you're going to hit. I think he said, Ruth did it 3 other times and struck out, but then the 4th time's the one you remember. So, I said, yeah, that's kind of horse racing, really, isn't it? You don't remember. Let's see, who won, who was 3rd, and who was 2nd, who was, you remember, hey, you step up and you won a big race. And I think that's the main thing there. And, especially like with Romans, he's been 4 times 3rd in this race, almost. So he was laughing. He said maybe he could hit a home run with a long shot, Everfast. I said, I just gave a battery commercial. Yeah. They're not even a sponsor. No. Sorry.
That's right. Yeah. And that is interesting too, because I'm drawing a blank his name, but the jockey riding Everfast was involved in the Derby controversy. So
yeah, Saez. Yeah. So Saez, he's still appealing. Luis Saez is still appealing, and he's gonna, you can appeal and you can ride, and that's what he's doing.
Yep. And
and you got the names in here. Mike Smith's jumped aboard Bourbon War now. Maybe that'll improve him. There's still people think Bourbon War is the horse, a long shot to watch in here. And Velasquez is on Intrepid Heart, and Gaffleone, Tyler Gaffleone is really a rising star. He's going to be, of course, still on War of Will. And you got Jose Ortiz riding Tacitus. His brother's riding a long shot. Irad's riding Tax, 15-1. So you got Julien Leparoux is riding Master Fencer. So you got names in here. The big, because it's the race, like we talked about. It's the race you want to run in. Joel Rosario is riding Sir Winston, the other Casse horse. So, and that's what it is, and that's what it should be. It's a big event. when you tune into the finals of the Stanley Cup or the NBA, you want to see the stars. You're hoping no matter who you're rooting for that at least, Kevin Durant's healthy again to play or somebody like that, because you don't want to win it. Or I don't think people do. I think people want to say, hey, you had your best and we beat you. And that's the same in horse racing. You brought in your best jockeys. You got your top trainers. You got your top horses at the moment. And we won. It really means anything. Nobody backed into anything. That's what I like about sports.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm certainly looking forward to the race. I'm a logic oriented guy. It's hard to look past Tacitus and the raw talent that he should have based on his background. But I think it's going to be an exciting race between him and War of Will. It's just, I find it hard to go against favorites, even though the Belmont has a history of long shots the last, 10 years or so. But I think it'll be exciting.
I do too. And that's, that's what makes it. I mean, there's horses. I would have never. I mean, we were talking the other day with Mike Watchmaker. Everfast should not have been second in the Preakness, but he was. There's a horse named Saraba years ago that Kenny McPeak had that, was like still at 70-1 or something like that, the longest shot to ever win this race. And again, that's why they call it a horse race. That's why way back in the Old West days, you heard start from scratch. You know if you're familiar with that term?
Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's because they would actually scratch a line in the sand, and that's where the horses would line up behind that scratch, and they'd say, "Let's go."
Yeah.
Somebody'd shoot a gun off or drop a handkerchief or something, and that was the start of the race. You'd fire right down the track, starting from scratch, and because you never knew. And there's all kinds of analogies used in that, and it's so much in our vernacular about, well, that's a horse race, or that's how that's why they call it a horse race, and that is why they call it a horse race, because at that moment, and boy, we've seen this a lot in the Derby over the years. At that moment, you had the best horse. You probably didn't have the best horse any other time, but at that moment you did, and that's what people will remember, and that's made you forever and ever a Kentucky Derby winner, even though your horse really wasn't the best horse. They were the best horse right then.
That's right.
Yep.
But yeah, it's going to be hard to go against the two. I mean, if I had to pick, and gosh, I am going to pick on the air tomorrow, so I don't even know who I'm picking yet. Tacitus, War Will seem like the obvious two.
Hard to go against Spinoff.
I keep coming back to that price. I thought, what the heck? If we win, I'd like to win some money. I'm not picked too well in this Triple Crown, but I'd like to give it a shot and see. Maybe it'll be fun. It'll be fun regardless.
Oh yeah.
And there'll be 45 or 50,000 people, and it is a New York event, and that track is something else. You could set the track. You could set the grandstand on its. If you could raise it upright,
Mm-hmm.
it would be taller than the Empire State Building.
Wow.
Because when they built this thing, like the 30s and 40s, you had horse racing, was actually baseball, boxing, and horse racing were the most popular sports in the U.S. NFL was still, NFL wasn't around. It started coming around, and football obviously is so popular now, but car racing. Didn't come around till later. So, really, if you look back when this track was built, that's one of the reasons they had these giant tracks is because, back then it was the thing. Mm-hmm. You went out to the races, you took your date out there, you took your wife and kids out there. Sometimes you took your date and your wife and kids. No, that's a joke. But it was one of those deals where it was a big sport. It would be nothing to see 25 or 30,000 people on any given weekend at a track like this here. And, obviously that's changed quite a bit with racing. It's changed dramatically, but it's still you walk around, you just kind of feel the history. This is where 13 Triple Crowns happened. And seeing two of them like I have, it really brings back good memories. I was thinking about, we were talking about American Pharoah yesterday, some of us at the meeting, and that's what it's all about is having those. Well, it's like you guys, you walk into a ballpark, into a stadium, you go, hey, this is cool. There's a vibe even if you weren't around to see everything that happens, you kind of get that feel. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Get that feel that something special happened here. Look at this ballpark. Or over there is where somebody got caught a touchdown or hit a home run or scored a winning basket. I like to go to these places that's been around for a while.
Oh yeah.
Kenny, is there a different feel? Because you said it's a New York race. Is there a different feel between a New York race and even a Kentucky race?
Well, the Derby event is so different. I mean, the Derby is a spectacle. And it really is unlike anything else. I mean, the biggest crowd of the year is the Kentucky Derby every year. No other horse race comes close to the biggest crowd of the year is the Kentucky Derby. Usually the second biggest crowd of the year is the Preakness, over 100,000 people. But the third biggest crowd of the year is the Kentucky Oaks with over 100,000 people. That's usually how it goes on average. Now, what happened at Belmont, and this is really interesting because you think in New York, this should just be a slam dunk, wouldn't you? In New York, you think, well, how complicated could this be? But they have had some. A few years ago with American Pharoah's year, there were so many people here that and it was the same way when Funny Side was going for a Triple Crown, when Smarty Jones was going for a Triple Crown, and Big Brown, like 120,000 people or so. There's a train station, a platform that's out near the about as where you would turn for home if you're watching on TV. And then that's where our compound is too, for our TV trucks and trailers, etc. And they had so many people like getting on the platform, they were afraid it might collapse, and the traffic in and out. And because you got this 2-lane road coming in, that they limited now to 90,000, which is kind of unusual, because you figure New York can handle anything, and for the most part they can. Good gracious, just watch the New Year's Eve every year. I'm fascinated not just by the number of people there, but after they drop that ball, how quickly people disperse.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And then you go back like the next morning and they've cleaned it up. I mean, it's fascinating all the things they can do up here. But yeah, they put a 90,000 cap on it. So that's all the tickets they'll sell. I don't know if that'll ever change, but so that is different, so that is a real different vibe. And again, if it's not a Triple Crown, if it was a Triple Crown, I ran into a lot of the New York local reporters last year up here. I haven't seen a one here yet. Yeah, not to say they haven't been here. Maybe I just missed them, but they were here with frequency last year, as they were in 2015 with American Pharoah. But now, tomorrow, and I'm sure they'll show a little bit on their shows and things. But no, it's not near the buzz that you get in Kentucky, where we have the local TV stations doing all day reporting all week long and things about the Derby. There's nothing to compare to that.
Yeah, that's interesting. I've got one off. We've had 2 history lessons actually in the show, but
Yeah,
of the 3 races, who has the best food? I'm curious.
and we're talking at the track.
Yeah, like of the 3, of the 3 biggies at the track.
You know what? Churchill Downs has more variety. They have more variety. They've got a really good jerk chicken place up here at Belmont.
Yeah.
And they got a deli that's really nice. They make a nice couple of sandwiches here at the deli. But in Baltimore, really, the Preakness they don't have, the Preakness they just don't have the concessions. I mean, they only race 12 times a year at Pimlico. They just have a 12-day meet. Some days some years it's like 10 days. So yeah, Churchill by far has the best place to eat because they have the variety of places to eat.
Right. That's good. That makes me proud.
All Kentuckians can be proud of the fact that Churchill Downs has good food,
Right.
or at least has variety of food. How about that?
That works.
Kenny, have you had much time away from work while you've been in New York to do anything?
Thomas, I get together every year. It's kind of been a tradition with a great friend of mine, Billy Matthews, one of our producers, and a couple of guys I've done basketball games with over the years, and some other events. Kevin Smallin and Jeff Simon. We get together on Thursday nights and go to Peter Luger's in Great Neck and have steak. That's our tradition.
Okay.
So that's me. So we went last night. We had a great time. It was just wonderful catching up with those guys. And that was a lot of fun. And, we just it's not all about work. It's not all about, it's kind of about life. How you doing? What's going on in your life? How's everything been? How the families, all that. And it's nice because, these are people, and then there's a few more, but down the road, when this career ends or their career ends, it'll be the kind of people you still keep in touch with. So that was something I always look forward to. And aside from that, because I'm 45 minutes out from the city, and there was a day when I'd like to always try to go to the city when I can. But, I love New York. I've seen it enough. I'll probably be back again before the year's out, maybe on a social visit. So actually, I'm doing a race up here later on in September. So I just kind of hang out here on Long Island in a nice little town of Garden City and try to read as much as I can and hopefully come up with a good story or two along the way.
There we go.
That's what it's all about.
Yep. But I miss you guys terribly. I feel like I should send you a cheesecake or something.
Yes, that works. Yeah.
Send you a pastrami sandwich or something,
Yeah.
New York.
Yeah.
Bring you back some bagels.
A slice of pepperoni.
I'll bring you some slices. I mean, it's but I won't.
All right.
No,
That's fine.
You know why? Because by the time I get it back there, one, I might get hungry on the way and eat it, and two, it might, by the time I get back there, it might be too,
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
We
But
understand.
in my heart, I want to do that.
The thought that counts.
That's right.
See, so the thought is there for what that means.
That's right. Well, that's great. It's been good talking to you, Kenny, and that's an awesome update. And I think this is our first live thing we've done, so we've got a few people on there, but it will be up for everyone else to see. And if you haven't subscribed already, please do.
Yeah, and again, we appreciate everybody's support. We've gotten good feedback here. We've got some good guests coming up down the road. Some people I've talked to, and we've already had. I don't think there's ever been a show that's had the guests that we've had. This type of show, this a horse racing show.
Yeah.
And we got more to come, and look forward to that. And thanks everybody for tuning in live. And thank you, Scott Hall and Thomas Kenny and Ben Chaffins. And I guess we will be talking again soon.
That's right. All right, Kenny. We'll see you on the TV tomorrow.
All right, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Kenny.
And